Hi, welcome to ADHD Friendly. I'm Patty. I'm an ADHD coach, and I thrive by finding ways to work with my ADHD wired brain. And I'm here to share some information that will hopefully help you to do the same. So, if you would like a little bit more support, I invite you to check out my membership community, ADHD Friendly. You can get all the information on my website, ADHDfriendly.com, where ADDers get more things done. So this week I am celebrating what I'm calling an alarming win. And I'm also going to update my spending. And I've got an ADHD friendly tip to share. I'm calling Flip the Script. And then our main topic today is how to be mindful with ADHD. So we're going to talk about how to create mindful minutes. And then, of course, I'll wrap up with my book of the week. But let's jump in with my celebration. So this, I don't think I said at the top of the episode, is episode 204. And I had a workshop that I offered to my membership community last week on how to be more consistent. And I shared how I had been really less consistent with my morning walk routine in the summer months. It's been hot and I just don't do well in the heat. I have to get out super early to do it. And in talking through that, I realized that if I added an extra morning alarm and gave it a name that would remind me of what my intention was at the time I intended to start walking, that would probably be a game changer for me. So I set a 6:15 alarm that I named walk 6:15 to 6:45 to remind me it's not a very long walk. And if I did it at that time, I'd be done before 7, which means I would be enjoying my coffee and reading time without the drain of still thinking about when am I going to get my walk in today. So I set the alarm, and it's really helped me to do it without getting distracted by like watering plants or doing other things I can do anytime. If I don't do my walking, it won't happen if I don't do it in the morning. So it really has transformed my morning so far. I've been doing it for pretty much a week to today, and I'm really enjoying it. So I'm also updating in the membership that I'm doing it every morning, and that accountability is helping for me too. But the alarm has been a game changer. So I'm celebrating that success, that I figured out what I needed to do to make it more consistent. Now for what I've purchased this week. So I have ordered a new fall wreath that isn't here yet, but I did buy it online, so it's coming. So I'm going to be accountable for that. That was $39. I also got a really sparkly, I don't regret this one bit, Peanuts tablecloth that was on sale for $20. That was ordinarily, I think it was like 45 or something. I mean, it was like more than half off, and it's Peanuts. And it's just a simple muted, it's not really loud. It's like a cream colored tablecloth with leaves and just little Peanuts characters, but very muted colors. It's not very bold and kind of cartoony. It looks very fallish, and it just makes me happy when I see it. So I already got that, and it is on my table, and I'm just loving it so much. So that's my little fall decoration with peanuts on it that I already had out for the very beginning of September, which is another thing to celebrate. It's the beginning of September, and the heat here is definitely on the way out. So I'm very excited about that. And then the other thing I purchased was, you guys, if you are followers of the podcast, know that I love erasable pens. I just love the ease that I can write. And if I can make a mistake, I get overwhelmed by the visual clutter of lots of crossing out. And so I tried these new pens that I found that they're made by Pilot, and they're the Frixion family, but they're called, and I don't know how to pronounce this, but Waai, Waai. It comes in a pack of 8. I have taken 2 of them out of here already. I'm using 2 colors this week. And the colors, I'm going to hold this up. So again, if you're listening to this, I invite you to check out my YouTube channel, ADHD Friendly. They're a bit muted. They're not very bold. That's one thing I probably would change. I would like a little bit of a darker blue or a dark purple or something, but They are fun to write with. So this is my product of the week I'm sharing. I got these on Amazon. They were $18 when I purchased them. And so far, I'm really enjoying the way they write. They have the finer tip, the 0.5 millimeter. So if that's something that works for you, remember, we can be really sensitive to the feel of pens. I bought another one that was also in the same pilot Frixion family. And it's like the old fashioned where you click down the different colors, but the barrel of the pen is much thicker and it just gets in my way. I like the way it writes, but I won't use it because it's just too thick to comfortably hold in my hand when I'm writing. So these are very narrow and they have a almost like a heftier, like a sturdier feel to them. So I really do like that. And they have a little bit of a grippy kind of texture down here that stops it from slipping, which is very comfortable. So if that sounds interesting to you, I invite you to check it out for yourself and post it in episode 204 and let me know what you think. Or if there's another, especially erasable pen out there that you found that works really well. All right. So now for my tip for this week. And I forgot to mention at the top of the episode, usually Becca is here with me when I'm recording. She, by the time this episode comes out, will have already been married. She'll be a married woman when this episode airs. And lots of congratulations to her and her husband. But when I'm recording this, we are T-minus a week and a half from her wedding. So our schedules working are different for the next 2 weeks to accommodate that. So I'm recording this episode and probably next week's episode solo. So I've got my trusty one-eyed pug here that I'm talking to. And I just want to acknowledge, I know it might be a slightly different energy when I record on my own because it's kind of hard to not have, when you're just talking to a computer. So I'm trying to keep in mind my one-eyed pug, even though she's sleeping. But anyway, all right, I'm bringing it back around. So the tip for this week is to flip the script. So research shows that we have more demands on our bandwidth, on our time, our energy, our resources today than ever before. And when you think about it, it's, kind of obvious when we try to balance our work and our home life, or try to manage the impact that social media has so that it's, not kind of skewing our view to think everybody else is better looking or has more money or has everything figured out and has everything perfectly organized, whatever the story is that is being shared. So it's also impacting expectations for what I should look like, what I should be buying, how much I should be spending, or even how much I should be spending on my kids. Whether when you think about if you have kids, if they're little or if they are maybe young adult or maybe even middle adult, parents are paying for things for their kids longer and more often, even into adulthood. And that's being perpetuated in social media, and more on that in future episode, because there's a topic that it's really caught my attention. I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk about this, but I'm just putting a pin in that for now. But if we recognize that our own efforts at the end of the day, so we're kind of letting go of all of that social media and the news and whatever else we might be filtering our view of the day through, if we can let that go and recognize that at the end of the day, our efforts were enough and worthy to be acknowledged. And that's where I'm flipping the script. So instead of looking at it through all of that kind of mindset filter of you're not enough, you don't have enough, you're not doing enough, and instead of asking, what else should I have done today at the end of the day, or what didn't get done, acknowledging what I did get done. So acknowledging progress, acknowledging whatever you were able to get checked off, make a list, literally get it outside your head so that you have evidence to push back against with that negative self-talk that can often creep into our brains, and use your list as progress and a way to push back. So it's like, what did I do today? Well, this is what I did today. Let's acknowledge that and celebrate it. So that's just what I'm calling flip the script. So if your self-talk at the end of the day is judging and keeping you focused on what more you could have done or what else was possible, it's just flipping it from, okay, but let me acknowledge what I did complete, what I did move forward on. All right, so now for our main topic. And I'm calling this ADHD-friendly mindful minutes. And for me, mindfulness practice is really hard. I know the benefits. I've read lots of studies that, talk about how it's great for everyone, but it's really good for those of us with ADHD. But sitting still in my own thoughts, my own mind, trying to quiet it is so uncomfortable. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it is uncomfortable. And so I'm going to share some ADHD-friendly mindful minute strategies, and I'm calling them minutes, little eminems, because number one, it's sparkly to my brain to think of it that way, but it's also keeping it really small, right? Remember, consistency is about keeping things in like those little mini doses so that you can consistently do it. If you're like, I'm going to meditate for an hour every day, probably not sustainable if that's not part of your everyday practice. But if your goal is to find 1 minute a day, that might be a lot more doable and build the consistency. So that's what we're going for. So what's in it for me to even do it? If you know it's going to be difficult or you've tried it before and it didn't work for you, keeping in mind that the positive impact of mindfulness supports those areas that we have challenges in when we have ADHD. And that includes our attention span, our ability to focus, our impulsivity. It's not a magic wand that takes all those challenges away, but the results are often noticeable and well worth the effort. So here are a couple of strategies to explore if you're looking for some ADHD-friendly ways to add mindful minutes to your day. So the first is to move while you notice. So don't expect yourself to sit perfectly still. Have walking mindful minutes where you just pay attention to how the breeze feels on your skin or on your face, what the sounds in nature are as you're walking, how your feet sound as they're hitting the ground that you're walking on. What do you smell as you're walking? So just focusing on mindfulness while you're moving, or maybe just do some gentle stretches while you're paying attention to the sensations and the feelings that you have while you're stretching. So that's the first. Mindful minutes while moving, MMMs. The second is maybe using body doubling for mindfulness. So if you know body doubling works for you, and that's that using somebody else to help hold you to more easily stay on task. So it might be that you try a 5-minute FaceTime call or Zoom call with a friend and practice mindfulness. Maybe you set a timer, you turn off the camera. Maybe you both have prompts that you follow. Maybe one person kind of leads and says, we're going to do 1 minute of breath practice. We're going to breathe in and count to 5, whatever it is that you have a way just to practice with somebody else to use that accountability with body doubling that can work so well for us. The next is to stack it. And by that, I mean, tie your mindfulness to an existing habit. We've talked about this before where we're just kind of adding on to something that we already have a routine around. So one of my favorites is while the coffee is brewing, that typically takes about a minute. So that'd be a great time just to kind of stand and maybe just pay attention to the smell of the coffee brewing, the sound of the coffee brewing. Or maybe before getting into or out of bed, you have a 1-minute mindfulness practice. Or maybe while you're brushing your teeth, washing your hands and noticing the sensation of the water and the soap, while you're cleansing your hands, just really being present in the moment in these little things that we're already doing throughout the day to help bring a little bit more of mindfulness to it. And the last would be to inject interest. Remember, our brains are wired for interest. So anytime that we can create interest, we're going to create that openness to pull us in more easily instead of trying to push yourself to mindfulness. It's that pulling you into trying it. So maybe you rotate your prompts where you're trying, listening to something outside while you're walking, or a breathing ritual, or guided meditations that you can kind of rotate. So it's keeping it sparkly and your brain interested. So if mindfulness is something you would like to try, especially a mindful minute, what prompt would you need to remember your intention? So just like my example at the top with my celebration where I set an alarm, that is something that does work for people. They'll set alarms at one time or a specific time to remind them just to take a minute and breathe, or a minute to listen to nature sounds, something that allows you to connect with mindfulness. I have an M&M reminder in the morning, like literally spelled out like the Eminem, the singer. And it's that mindful minute, right? So it's a sparkly way to remind me like, oh, have you had a mindful minute today? And I can just do a minute. Remember, we can always do more, but if you start with a minute, you can check the box and know that you're building that consistency. And if you want to do more, you can, but not expecting yourself, because that can get in the way of the consistency. All right. Last but not least, rocking right through this. My book of the week. I love the Little House on the Prairie show, but I never read the book. So this summer I made it my, I just added it to my list. I was going to read the Little House series of books. I read all 8 of them. Or is there 9? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's 9. Wow, I read all 9 of them. I listened to them because I tried to read them when I was younger. I tried to read them when my kids were little. I could never get through the first one. And I've always been a read the books in order kind of person. So I never made it to the others. I like the Little House on the Prairie the best because it was like the first season of the Little House show, the closest to it. But a lot of them had themes throughout that I really enjoyed. I don't know if I would have liked the show as much if I read the books first, because they are so different, but I really did enjoy reading the books. And I gave them a 4 out of 5 just for the nostalgia. So I also have a quote from Laura Ingalls Wilder for this week. And she said, "We'd never get anything fixed to suit us if we waited for things to suit us before we started." And I just thought that was so apropos for our ADHD brains, because we tend to wait for that perfect moment, the perfect amount of energy and focus and everything to start. And often what we need to just do is find our way in and begin. So that's it for this episode 204. I hope you have an incredibly ADHD friendly week, and that something that you heard is helpful for you to take and use to make your day a little bit more ADHD friendly. Until next time, tally ho.